I'm just going to give like a little spiel here in the beginning just to provide some context, and then we'll open up the floor. So the purpose of this first part is really just to lay some ground rules for how to make this mastermind really effective when it comes to operations. And then laying out sort of what it's going to look like moving forward, the plan that we have moving forward. And then we'll open it up if there's things that we want to talk about or ideas we want to share, systems we want some additional feedback on, that kind of thing. So I have a really awesome opportunity I pay to be in a community called KW Operations. And it's through, so it's backed by through Keller Williams, and Nicole Zuber is the the head of this organization basically. And it's like group coaching. So if anyone's familiar with group coaching, that's very much what it's like. And they offered an opportunity to be an ambassador to host masterminds inside of the Market Center because they recognize that market centers need more support for operations and for rainmakers that are looking to add to their operations staff. They need more support and more knowledge. And so that's what I'm doing here is really just like an extension of what this program is, to be able to bring that information to people inside of our market center and outside of the market center too. If you have operations friends that are not with KW, they're more than welcome to join here as well. So every single week in our group coaching session, there's a topic every month. So my plan is actually to bring that same topic to this group. So at the beginning of the call of this mastermind, and you'll know ahead of time what the topic is, we will have that specific topic. So it might be about reviews or just for example, last month, it was all about a scoreboard, meaning like, how do you create competition inside of your organization to track numbers, et cetera, to create competition? So I'll bring that topic to this group in the beginning. So probably the first 15 minutes or so, we can talk about that, mastermind around it if it's relevant for us. And then the remainder of the time would be an open floor around things you're struggling with, things that you're looking to build better systems around. Maybe you're at like ground zero of building a system, and somebody here on this call has a system that is a few steps ahead of you that you can rip off and duplicate. I mean, there's a lot of power that can happen inside of this group with this many people, ranging from all of your experience and your team sizes as well. So with that said, I have a couple ground rules too for this mastermind. I think it's important to address. The purpose of this is definitely not to be sitting around complaining about our rainmakers, complaining about people on our team. Like, while that might feel good, this just isn't going to be the space for that. So we want this to be a very positive, uplifting space where we're bringing solutions, we're offering support and feedback for one another. So I think that's important to address because sometimes people do think that that's what these are for. And that's not what this one is going to be for. So, and then two is even just looking across the screen, I know there are teams on inside of just the people that are here right now that they run big teams, and some of them run some smaller teams. If you hear an idea in here, sometimes it can be a little bit harder to hear a larger team talk about a system that they have spent the past 5 years building, for example. And maybe you're at like a starting point of building a system, and it can be like, oh, well, Katie and her team, they have 14 people on their team, and like, there's no way I could have that system. It's just me and my rainmaker. Really changing your mindset around, okay, that system works for this team. What part of what they're doing can I take and look to implement in my business? Take what you need and leave the rest. So I needed to adopt this mentality because a lot of the trainings and masterminds that I've been in, it's teams that are running businesses like a Glover U or Lance Loken, where their teams are huge. And it'd be very easy for me to say, well, yeah, that's easy for them. They have a marketing person. They have, people that do all of this stuff, but there's still something to learn there. We just need to choose to see it that way and take those pieces and then look to implement something small in your business from that idea. So it doesn't have to look exactly like it looks for other people, but what concepts can we take from that? So I just wanted to share that because again, we do have a wide range of teams and experience here. So I think that's important to recognize. So, and I also realized I didn't introduce myself. So my name is Katie. I am the director of operations for Lifetime Realty Group. So we're out of the New Berlin office. So, and I've been with their team since 2019, end of 2019. And I don't have a background in real estate. So when I got in 2019 with Lifetime, the only experience I had in real estate was around buying, my husband and I buying our first house. So this community and communities like this have been very, very helpful for me to gain perspective, to grab systems and tools and different things like that. So, but I always like to share that because sometimes people can kind of write themselves off like, well, I'm new or I've never done this before. And it's okay that you're new. It's okay that you've never done this before. And it's okay if you've been doing this for a really long time. Like everybody has something that they can contribute to this conversation, which is exciting. So it's so awesome to see so many faces here. And this also goes to show that there's a need for this. And I'm really excited to be able to bring this group together and share tools and resources, that kind of thing. So awesome. Any questions on that? None so far? Okay, cool. So to kick things off, again, typically we would be talking about a specific topic, but for this group, I wanted to just have it be like an open forum of people bringing things that they are working on or things they want feedback on, or there were some other rainmakers that had emailed me saying that they might be attending because they're looking to hire their first operations person and really looking to make a list of like, what do they do? What do I need for training? So I know we could go in a bunch of different directions, but is there anybody on the call that has like a burning topic that they want to talk about or share an idea around that people on this call could help support them? I know this always isn't the most talkative group, and I'm perfectly okay to just call on somebody too. So yeah, Tanya, go for it.
Hi, I'm Tanya. I work with the Falk Rubin Gallagher real estate team in Whitefish Bay, and I'm very
Mhm.
excited to be here. um,
That's
I
awesome.
we are working. My colleague Mary Beth and I are working on establishing new systems for rentals because we're seeing more rentals come through right now than we had in the past. I am told I've been with the group for about 13 months, so she has more experience than I do in that. But we're looking to do that and collaborated with Jamie Joint, who I see is on here, and got some great
Mhm.
information from the Molitor group as well, and just are looking to work on that and expand that. So that's a topic I would love to be able to chat about a little bit. I feel like we've got our systems dialed in with listings and buyers, but the rental piece is a little bit newer for us.
Mhm. So, and just for clarity's sake too, is this like people that you know that are looking to rent out their property and have you potentially manage like being like a property manager? Or can you talk a little bit more about when you say rentals, what does that mean for you guys?
We have agents who have been on both the kind of listing side and then on the renter side of transactions. They're not property management. They are either working as a renter's agent or they're working as someone who is helping to assist. Usually, they're buyers who have purchased a rental property and then are looking to get that rented out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Just because I know there's a lot of different like directions of like where something like that could go. And does anybody on the call have any experience with that? Or are you doing anything like that for your sellers currently or for your database currently? Not yet. Okay. Well, I'm trying to think of what I can share around this. So we've had a handful of rentals, I would say, in the last probably couple of years. Um, and we've treated it just like a normal listing. So like we've done all of the same things for them as a normal listing. The only thing that's different is we didn't put a sign in the yard that says for sale. We had a for rent sign. So we just have a, I don't know, like a, one of those signs, like a tent or um that says for sale on it with our number on it and everything. But we advertise for it in MLS. Um, we I need to look at what it was, but we charged like a fee basically. So it wasn't necessarily like a percentage of anything. It was a fee of some sort for us and for the if you brought the renter, there was something for an agent if they brought the renter directly as well. So I can definitely share some of those things with you directly too. If you want to pop your email in the chat, I can send some things over for you too. This is a good question though, because I could see this being more of a thing. You might even hear some other people looking to build out like a property management division of their team as well for something like this too. I could definitely see more of that like coming to fruition, if you will.
Yes, I was going to say, this is
Kind of
Kathy
sense
from
that we
Team.
got
That's
to.
something we're doing, is
Okay.
investing, because there are a lot more investors that are purchasing out of state. So coming from like either California or even internationally. I mean, the Midwest is a great place for them to invest. And so it is presenting itself as a new revenue stream, to be kind of the local property manager and resource for those kinds of folks. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity there. There's no doubt about it. I mean, and people are paying quite a bit of money for property management companies. So, I mean, if that's something that your team is doing a lot, it could be a really awesome, almost like a department of your team potentially too. Were you saying something, Mel? I couldn't, you're not on mute, but I couldn't hear you. I'm trying to read your lips. I can't do it. Anybody else? It just wasn't meant to be. That's okay. You can put something in the chat too if you want to. Okay, perfect. I feel like I'm pretty good at reading lips, but that was a challenge there. I'm not gonna lie. So, okay, what other topics are we working on? Like, what big projects are we working on right now operationally? I mean, I know that this tends to be a little bit of historically like a slower time. So a lot of times operationally, we're working on like top grading our systems, or we're looking at creating a new system for something that you're looking to implement heading into like a historically busier time. What does that look like for everybody on the call right now? What's like the biggest project that you're working on right now?
Well, we just set up a system this year to send out RPR reports twice a year to everybody that we've met in our database. So we came up with, they do it quarterly, the agents call them. So we split it out every 2 weeks, 1 week prepping, second week mailing. So we've got a pretty good flow going right now, which is pretty nice. But I know Lisa's been doing it for a long time and she's had a lot of success. And we basically put in our CRM like how much the value was, and then you can see continually whether it's gone up or gone down, and like you can give that data to the customer if they're looking to sell and things like that. So
Okay. What is, just to dig a little bit deeper on this topic, because I think a lot of times, at least what I'm hearing too, and even the like one-on-one coaching calls that I'm having with people as well, they're like, our agents, they don't know what to say. They don't know what to call people about. They don't, they'll say like, oh, happy new year, but they don't know exactly what to be saying in those conversations. And this is such a great example of something for agents or rainmakers to call their people about. It's a reason to call. You're adding that, like you're potentially providing value to the person that you're calling. What's your system like for this, Robbie? Like when an agent is starting to do that, are you guys pulling all these like so many a week for the agents to call, or like what does that look like?
So the actual way that this process works is, so Kim and I, who's
Okay,
the
hold on
other,
one second. Hold on one second. Something I'm also trying to do is I just automatically assumed everybody knew what an RPR report was. And if you don't know what that is, you're probably like, what is Robbie even talking about? So do you want to talk a little bit about what that report is, Robbie, and then go into detail, like explaining what what you
well,
guys are doing for it?
I'm not a realtor, but I can tell you from what I have printed. It's just basically, we print mini ones, so there's just basically a 2-page, like how much a quick snapshot of how much, like what the house is, like how big it is, square footage, bathrooms, bedrooms, the key details that everybody cares about. And then
Yep.
they give it basically a ballpark figure of how much they think it's worth. So that is what my understanding of an RPR report is. I think it means real estate property report, if I'm going to guess, as a
Mhm.
non-realtor. But
Mhm.
so basically, Kim and I have split up the tasks so that neither of us are too overwhelmed. But basically, she'll run the reports for me, throw them into Google Drive, and then I make the list. Sorry, back up. I make the list of everybody that we're doing. We split it up over the DTD2, except we extended it out 2 weeks. So if it's A and W, I pull the list for A and W that week. I get the list to Kim. She runs the reports. She puts them in Google Drive for me. During the week that she's running the reports, I'm actually prepping we actually mail them to the customers. So
Okay.
I print off the labels, I make the envelopes. She sends them over, I print them, fold them with a nice little letter that Lisa wrote up, just talking about, I don't know what the letter says. I read it once, flushed that
Yeah.
data from my brain. But and then on that second week, I mail them all out, and then we start the process over again. I get the letter list for whatever the next ones are, and yeah, that's been our process.
Okay. Okay.
Because we were both very worried
That's
about,
awesome.
like, because if we're doing it for, right now we're doing it for Lisa, and then we're going to expand it to the other agents. But if we're doing it for that many people, okay, either of us can do this in January, but like
Mhm.
in April,
Mhm.
like it's going to be a lot harder. So we really try to think long term if this is something, because there's no worse process to start than a process you don't keep doing. So
Mhm.
we didn't want it to fall apart midway through the year because one of us is trying to do it all by ourselves and we're too busy. So
Yeah,
We're doing,
definitely.
yeah, I was going to say we're doing something similar, but a little bit different. And we're using RPR and it's not like the full CMA, but what it is, within RPR, you can actually pull like a micro neighborhood. So if the neighborhood is identified, or you can actually draw the neighborhood, you can pull some of the data related to just the neighborhood. And we use that as kind of a first step. And then the second step is the call to action is, if you're interested in knowing, the value of your home, let's schedule an appointment so that we can, meet with them and get in the home. So the first one is more of that. It's not as broad as like, so when you say just an area of town, like just Heartland or just Pewaukee, I mean, there's all these outliers, right? So there's your highs and lows, your median price points, but everyone knows that real estate is hyper local, right? So
Mhm.
what's happening within your specific subdivision is more important than something that's happening, even a mile down the road, right? So we kind of did some RPR training to start to learn how to dig deeper into some of that data and how to I don't know the right word to say it is, to how to like parcel it out so that we're not giving, for us, not giving them a value because it's hard to know. Like if they've been in their homes for 15 or 20 years, a lot of times those RPR values are not necessarily accurate if they've, you know, added bathrooms or done major updates or haven't taken care of anything. You know, so our
Mhm.
first step, so we're doing a similar thing, but just attacking it a little bit differently. So
One of the really cool things, as I said, we started with Lisa too, is that if you go into her database, every single one of her neighbors is in her database. And every single one of her neighbors gets an RPR report
mhm.
twice a year. Like, because there's nothing more, I'm not even a real estate agent. And when I see a sign in our neighborhood that isn't our sign, I'm like, ah, we blew that one, didn't we? So like, that's a really cool thing that Lisa does too.
Mhm. Well, what I'm hearing in this too, which I think is awesome, is this system of pulling these RPR reports could be really beneficial for your database. So a reason to call your database, a reason to reach out to your database, a reason to add value back to your database. Chris Ruskowitz did some training on this in the Market Center. I'm not sure when. I think it was last year sometime, I think, where she provided like script language that she uses, like literally the text language that she uses, the email that she uses, etc. So that could be something really helpful and healthy to plug into. But then I loved what you said, Kathy, is it could also be something that you're using to drum up new business. As something if you're looking to like farm a neighborhood or a specific area or something like that, to be able to add and to grow your database. I love that. I've really only heard of people doing it to people that they know. So I like using it as something to be able to help grow your database potentially.
Yeah, ours is definitely more of like a touch. So like making
Mm-hmm.
sure that like, hey, when you do decide to make that decision, whenever that is to sell this
Mm-hmm.
home, we want to be
Mm-hmm.
at the top of mind. So
Yep.
Yep, and you're right. That's
Yep.
exactly what ours is, was a farming activity. So we've spent, you know, the last year farming. There's like 12 different subdivisions that we identified that had homes at a certain age. So from a turnover perspective, we're probably ripe to be downsized or, you know, that kind of thing. And so from there, we
Mm-hmm.
started highlighting like who do we know in each of those neighborhoods? Like, do we know their name? And we actually put together these kits. They're called Love It Before You List It, and we're providing kind of insight and information on if they want to improve their home, like how to maximize their ROI using certain materials and doing certain things, and really kind of getting a gut check from an expert as to what things to do, even if selling is like a distant idea. It's like we're your trusted resource, so we're not just a real estate agent, you know, we're your resource. So it's like if you're going to make improvements on your home, have us in. You're not on the hook for anything, but we're going to give you
Mm-hmm.
our expert advice because we have that staging expertise too, and some you know, credentialing around some of that, and some history with some proven track record on some of those pieces. So going in and
Yep.
doing that like next level with them. And then, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, just doing the neighborhood report. So we had like the direct mailers, and then the culmination was the last mailer of the year was like heading into the new year was everyone got the neighborhood report, and then certain people got this higher level drop off that was this Love It Before You
Mm-hmm.
List It kit of all of these different tools and resources. It was a big thing for us.
Your team is so great about things like that. I feel like you guys do really great, very like niche specific, um, local things for people around you in terms of like packing things together if it's a gift or ideas. I mean, if you're looking for something that's very unique, I would definitely talk to Kathy. They're like experts at that.
Well,
There's
and it just
definitely
Hey,
a
you
lot of
guys.
that comes from that.
thank you.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Katie, it's Diana. Can you hear me?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Hey, just real quick, I have to pop on to sing Kathy's praises because they do things that are super, super niche. But I think the other thing that they do is they are so brand consistent and so particular about what goes out, to taglines, to look and feel of the pieces, that even if you're not paying attention, after you've gotten a piece or two or a packet or two from them, you just know who they are. So when it comes to building team, and you can't do this without fabulous operations support. So I know that there are huge operations talent in KW and on this call, and I just wanted to shout out Kathy, Robbie. I love what you guys are doing, and just like, let's do more. Love it, love it. Okay, I'm done. Thanks.
No, I love that. I totally agree. It's definitely something I think about that when we're putting things together. I'm like, how would their team do this, or what would it look like? Or so you guys have been like a silent inspiration for me for quite a while.
Well, it just goes to show you too, like we learned, like that letter you're talking about from Chris Ruskowitz, obviously we have a lot of admiration, respect for her, you know, and the things that she does and how she gives back. And, you know, that was kind of like a little bit of the inspo, like for us, you know, like you talk about, what do you learn? What do you take that you can apply to your own team and make your own and leave the rest behind? So, you know, I listened to her webinar, you know, looked up a lot of the tools and resources that she had shared, and then we just customized it. You know, we brainstormed around like, how can we bring this to life for our team? Where can we add value? What are our natural passions and also areas of expertise? And so that's how it came to life for us. And so for me, it's like learning from the young people, new people in the industry is as important as learning from the people who have been here for a long time. And I mean, any one of those, I think, top performers will tell you that as soon as you think, you know, okay, I'm good, like our awareness is out there, that's when those young bucks come and start, you know, taking some of your market share. So, you know, we're always trying to stay relevant, stay youthful, stay engaged, you know, stay, you know, like we're not old, like we're old, but we're not old, you know, it's like we want to be mature, but also current and relevant. And there's always a balance of not just expecting the phone to ring, because that doesn't always happen. It does sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't.
In 2020, it did.
Yes.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. Well, something I would say a takeaway as we kind of wrap up talking about RPR reports, because I see some other things in the chat here that we can talk about. If your team, if you're looking for, if your team, the agents on your team are like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to people. It's March, like we're not at the new year. I guess they could call to say like Happy St. Patrick's Day or something like that. This RPR report could be a really good solution for them to give them a reason to call their database, and something operationally that we can pull to help support them in generating business and helping them to lead generate. So just something to think about there. So, and if you're looking for more ideas on like what that system looks like, definitely reach out to Robbie. I'm sure he's happy to share more about his system and what's working for them. So all right, let's see here. So we have focusing on updating our listing process and also growing our team. So growing your team. We'll definitely get to this in a second, because I feel like this is probably something that a lot of people on this call are also probably looking to do, is to add some agents to their team in some way, shape, or form. It seems to be a pretty consistent conversation that we're having in, I would say, most of the masterminds and coaching calls that I'm on right now. So talking about updating our listing process. So is anybody else on the call going through and updating anything that they're doing on the listing side? Mel, you guys are doing that? We are too. Nicole, can you talk a little bit more about like, and I know your hands were full. Oh, they're not full now. Hurry.
Yeah, so we have like a listing process, but it's just not very like fluid. I mean, no transaction is the same, but there's like a lot of pieces that I don't feel like a good start to finish, and having like the agents follow it through in a easy way. So that's kind of where we're stuck. Like we have a process, but it's like, how do I get them to start on one piece and like do little things to get it to list, because we're always like scrambling at the last minute, I feel like, to get information. Either the property's so old that it's not an MLS, so we don't have like all the information that we normally would. So that's kind of a struggle.
Mm-hmm. So, and what I'm hearing you say too is it's like starting at the beginning. So like getting the information. So this is prior to it even being listed. It's like
Yep.
somebody reached out to them or
Pre-listing.
something saying, hey, we're interested in selling. So all pre-listing stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I
a
will
more
say you're
pre-listing
definitely not
process.
alone.
Okay.
You're definitely not alone. So definitely find some like peace in that and knowing that it's not just your team. That's probably everybody on this call's team, which is why you see a lot of smiles and because people relate to you. So I know, Jessica, you said it looked like you had something to contribute.
Yeah, so I actually, this was a challenge for quite a bit with changing to a different team and everyone not knowing what they're doing and previous installments, whatever, yada, yada, yada. So basically just setting the expectation with the, hey, if you have somebody that you're working with that you know is coming up, that's being a listing, let me know, like, hey, here's the address. At least if you give me the address, that's at least a starter point for me so I could go into MLS, find it. I ended up making this spreadsheet as our pre-listing, thing where basically I go pull up the old MLS. I fill out what is in the MLS, and then I start a thread with them. So I know you know my threads. A lot of us that have been with me know that, hey, keep it in one thread, one email chain, so we can refer back to it. So I started this with my agent, like this is blah, 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 123 Main Street listing thread. So I put in, they have their own file, they have this spreadsheet, and it is my expectation for that agent. I need you by this date to look at this spreadsheet and update if there's any changes. On this spreadsheet, there's also what day do you want this listed? What time do you want this listed? What day are we doing photography? What's the contact information for these sellers? That was half of my battle majority of the time. And this is something I'd be more than happy to share because there's a different sheet for the single family listing, duplex, condo, because each one has their own nuances in MLS. So I go through, I pull, if there's an old one, fantastic. If not, I make the expectation. If you want this listing live, you need to help me out with this listing going live. And this is what I need you to do.
Jessica, if I could ask, sorry, Jessica, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay, if I could just ask, do you have a lot of pushback from your agents with like giving them those deadlines? We're working on instilling like a checklist so our team knows exactly what we need and when. Sorry, I'm on a treadmill. I should get off.
Oh, no, that's you're good.
Okay.
So, the primary issue we have is our clients pushing back. Though we have one large investor client that, when they want something to go live, it's go, go, go right now. And we may not have everything we need, but with our team growing, I'm curious, one, if you have a lot of pushback with your agent saying, well, just go ahead and do it. I'll get it to you when I get it to you. Or if anyone on the call has experience with instilling new boundaries and new checklists with existing clients.
As far as mine, so my team's actually really specific that they want these deadlines. If I don't give them a deadline, that makes them not want to do it. So if I say, I need you to have this to me by such and such time, they're like, okay, this is serious. And basically it's if you don't give me this information, that can't get done. Help me help you. Otherwise, we're all going to be frustrated with each other.
Yeah, and does anybody have experience with like instilling these deadlines with their existing clients? Like we have a client that we've had for over a year and we kind of just jump when they say jump, but I, as an admin, would like more structure. And I don't know how to go forward and saying like, hey, if you say jump, we need a couple days.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah. Yay.
I think I fixed it. Okay. So I do have something to kind of touch on that, Amanda. And one of the things that has really helped our team is our team goes live. So if we have a listing, no matter when the client wants to go live, we always do them on Thursdays. And so selecting that day has really helped, because then you can just kind of fit that into, we build the actual process 3 weeks out, and that's ideal. We'd like to get a listing and have that 3 weeks to get it to go live. But even if they're wanting to list within a week, we can just kind of put them into wherever we are in that system, and still make it go live for that next Thursday, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's doable for a lot of our clients. We don't have a pushback from a decent amount of them because they understand, like, we're a small team, we will get it done. But we do have a client that sometimes says, hey, let's go live tomorrow. So then we have to figure out, like, is there a lockbox? Are there tenants? Like, when are we going to actually, like, be able to get photos, stuff like that? And saying no to them because that it is our biggest client is difficult.
Yeah, it is. It definitely takes some clients, will definitely push it. And I know, so Tony kind of has done his research, I believe, on the back end of that too, just to say, like, hey, Thursday is the best day to go live because of this reason and that reason. And then another thing we do is, so other things in the listing process go on certain days. So all of our media, we try to schedule for the Monday prior to launch. And Tony does his pre-media walkthrough on Saturdays. So we just try to keep everything with one certain day. And then I think he probably does a good job of talking to the clients about that in his like listing strategy sessions to say, these are the days that we're going to do, these things.
Mm-hmm.
And then to kind of touch on what Jessica was saying, I think we have a property one sheet and our team kind of tag teams it. So Tony will like give us a listing contract, and then we go into MLS, put all the information that we can, and then Tony hops in and puts in any information that he has in notes, and we just kind of go back and forth with that property one sheet. And so that's how we manage it. And I think my last suggestion would just be to try to get into the transaction as soon as you can. I feel like the sooner the admins can get in contact and get a hold of the sellers, the easier everything becomes, rather than kind of trying to rely on that agent for that information.
Absolutely. Having that transition, that introduction of setting the expectations. And we also have the, yes, it goes live Wednesday, 7 p.m. Having that expectation right off the bat just alleviates so much. Like, what are we doing? Where are we doing this? How? Has anybody taken pictures? That sort of thing. So yeah, that totally alleviates so much pressure off of an admin's shoulder.
I was going to say the other thing that we always say too is quality control. Just like, I mean, it's a business that we're running. Selling your home is, basically a project that our company is bringing on. So you're a client of ours. So if you approach it from a business-minded perspective and say, listen, one of the reasons why you probably chose our team is because we have all these multifaceted and specialists that work together to help sell your property. That's what our goal is. And when we are pushing things through and we're not going through the proper quality control steps, which are a part of our process and which is what helps us to be successful so that you can be successful, it puts strain on the system. So, trying to explain it in like more of a business term to, especially if that's an investor client, seems like that would be maybe something worth trying as well. Because I do think that's the hard part about, it's like everyone, I mean, we're selling someone's property, but we are selling, our service, but we're selling a home. It's a good, you know what I mean? So there is something there that needs to be prepared to sell. So you always want to put your best foot forward. I mean, you don't have a second chance to make a first impression. So if your first impression on the market is going to be when it hits and matriculates out to all those sites, I mean, and there's errors there or things that should be there aren't there. Now all of a sudden you're getting Your agents are fielding phone calls about where are the documents, where's this condition report, where are the updates, how old is this, are there tenants available? I mean, it just becomes a barrage of putting out fires versus if you follow the system and the process that is proven, you got a proven program for listing and selling X. You know, as much as we can, we'd like to follow that.
Another thing I think about, especially as we're kind of going back to a little bit of Nicole's question of like keeping things on track and like people doing things kind of maybe a different way or whatever, is oftentimes people need reminders. And I know operationally that's frustrating. Like, I know that's frustrating. It's super frustrating to continue to say, hey, do you have this? Hey, following up, do you have this? But when we're consistent about that and we continue to remind our agents, we'll just say agents for this sake or this example, we're consistent about following up and asking for updates to remind them of what we need. I do believe over time, you will notice that they might get sick of your reminders. So maybe they'll start giving you some information sooner so that they don't have to continue to hear from you with your reminders. But it's almost like changing our mindset around it, because that is frustrating. That it's frustrating to continue to ask. And I mean, we all know there's probably like one agent on the team, right? That's like, oh, I can never get this information from them, or you know what I mean? And it's like, if we're consistent about viewing it as, I need to remind them, I need to remind them, I need to remind them, training them how to do that, those reminders might help to be able to do that too, if you're consistent about it as well.
You teach people how to treat you. As long as you know, this is my expectation. I can only do my job so far without it.
Yep.
Also, I did put the link for that spreadsheet in the chat if anybody wants to grab a copy of it.
That's awesome. Great. And speaking of that, speaking of like sharing a spreadsheet, so a couple people had reached out, and Kathleen and I were talking about this. Would it be valuable if we had some sort of like Discord channel or Slack channel as a group to be able to talk outside of a mastermind like this around just different ideas or sharing links to documents, things like that? If you do think that'd be helpful. Yeah, it looks like just some head nods and some yeses in the chat. So, okay. That's definitely something Kathleen and I are gonna work on implementing, because I think continuing to have support in that and then also be able to share things outside of it just once a month would be valuable, but it's good to hear feedback that would be good. Okay. Awesome. I think it was Emily. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, that's okay. This might be really well known, but coming from a semi-newbie, if you use Command, the checklists and the phases phases and stages under opportunities, our team has built out a pretty intense checklist for both buying and listing processes through there. And it's helped to define roles and responsibilities between the operations admin side and the agent side. You can, just assign those tasks. And as far as keeping, it doesn't necessarily help keep clients on track, but it keeps them updated. At least you can have those. Once a task is done, it can trigger just an email sent to the client letting them know that something was done. So anyways, maybe super common sense, but was kind of a game changer for us. So been really helpful building out our listing process.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Emily. That's awesome. And I mean, it's definitely not. I mean, I think it's really helpful for this group to hear that a team is using Command and it's effective for them, truly. I mean, we're in Command, we're getting there with our checklists inside of Command right now. So that also just gave me some hope. So I love that. But that is what's cool about, I mean, just this industry in general, is the fact that there are so many different CRMs. There's lots of ways to be able to manage a transaction, whether you're using it in, Google Sheets, if you're using like Asana or some of these other like paid, there's tons of different ways to be able to manage a transaction. But it's more important that you're actually using it and it's effective for your organization. So yeah, Mel.
Yeah, I was going to ask if anyone else is using command tasks, or so we have been trying, but it seems like actually building smart plans might be the better route to go than doing the tasks, so that we can schedule like the follow-ups and stuff that go along with those tasks. So is anyone like, does anyone have any, maybe possible, and we can talk about it at another time because but any, who has used one or the other or prefers one or the other?
My
Yeah,
team, I'll just say that my team started using smart plans instead of the checklist, but we found that the checklists are a little bit more customizable because no transaction is the same. You can customize the checklist per transaction, which has been, just a lot more streamlined and efficient than smart plans. We were just kind of having like chats about, oh, we're going to tweak this smart plan, so this step actually means this, and it was getting a little convoluted and confusing. So we found, the checklist to be a little bit more straightforward, but that's just us.
Okay.
no, same here. I tried using a smart plan in order to do all of my essential steps and everything like that, but it didn't work how I wanted it to. I haven't revisited that, but yeah, those checklists are game changing, especially being able to check something off and it automatically update the client at the end of the day, or whenever you set it to update the client. That was just, I wanted another way to be able to keep them involved with the transaction as well. And also, if we ever have a transaction with a referral, I put that referral agent also in there as well, so they also get those updates.
So that was my thought process when you were saying it, maybe not using it more so for our checklist, but for our clients' checklists. That's a good way to look at it.
One thing that I will say that I like about a checklist, if it's in Command, if it's wherever you store it for your organization, if it's in Google Sheets, etc., especially on the pre-listing side, is that, again, if that is shared with everybody that's involved in that transaction, it's going back and reminding people of the things that they're responsible for. So like, it's not always just like, oh, you going in and reminding people, but like, hey, we have this process, we have this checklist. Here are the things that I need from you, like, whatever it is, your name is assigned to these different things. When can I have these by? Or I need these by Friday or something like that. But sort of using that as like the vehicle to remind people about what you need from them. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I can tell this is a topic that we could probably use some more time on, because it does look different for every team, and teams are using different tools and etc. So I just made a note for us to continue to revisit this to see how it's progressing, because the purpose of this is obviously to mastermind, but then to walk away with like, what am I going to implement from this? Like, what's one thing I can take and go do in my business now? So that way we can check in to see how things are moving along with this too. So good. Okay. And I also think this is where a chat of some sort would be helpful, because then people could very easily share a link, one of these links, and you could go back to it at some point or ask questions on it and sort of like dig a little bit deeper outside of just a mastermind too. So okay, let's see here. So we've got like 10 minutes left. So one of the other questions on here was from Emily. So how are you on the ops marketing side assisting with your team's client referral process? Currently working on streamlining a process to get a gift to past clients who do give referrals, working on more direct asks for referrals, but it's new for us. So what I get from that is talking about how are we asking for referrals? How are we rewarding or thanking people for the referrals that they're giving to us? And maybe who is responsible for that, for all of it? Who's responsible for asking? Who's responsible for the gifts? That kind of thing. So what are your organizations doing in this area right now?
I guess this is one of the things that we're still working on because the team hasn't had a consistent like way of doing things. Right now, all I have is like after we do an event, I send out a Google form like afterwards, like, hey, what did you like? What didn't you like? And one of the last things that I asked is, who do you know that we could help with or can refer, who can we help with their home needs? If you think of anybody, there's a space for that information. As far as like rewarding those, that's specific to each agent, how that looks for them. Unfortunately, I don't have any control over, I could have control over that, but that's, one of the things that Brad doesn't like to let go of and Dan doesn't like to let go of, and who knows what Jake and Stacy do. Right now, that's what we've got.
Yeah, I feel like this process gets tricky when teams get bigger. There's no doubt about it. And I think it's something that continues to evolve as your organization, as you decide to grow, if you want to grow. Especially when you've got other people involved, if you have a TC involved, if you have a listing coordinator involved, you have an agent or rainmaker. I mean, it could come from a lot of different directions. So I have, does anybody else have any ideas around this? Or different things that they're doing right now for this?
Well, we're doing one thing that I would say it could be like a reward for either referrals or for any kind of thing. We basically have a stockpile of branded items, but it's not like branded in the way like promotional items as much as it is we are collaborating with local businesses, like small business owners, and creating like branded products. So one of the things that we've had for the last year and a half is like a box of it's like this South Street Soapworks. So it's a woman who owns her own business. She sells a lot of her things in a lot of the boutiques in Lake Country and actually even in Milwaukee. So we had her create this, it's like a soap, it's a foaming soap, hand lotion, and a room spray that we created and like a really nice label for. So like a label that you would want to put on your, in your bathroom or on at your kitchen counter. So it's more subtle. So it just like for us, Team Trimble just has a circle T on and it says Love and Live collection, which is part of like this Love and Live in Lake Country is part of our like taglines. So it actually is really very pretty. And when we give it to them, we wrap it up and that's what they get. So it's marketing because it's branded, but it's not just a promotional item the way that we normally think of promotional items, things that are coming from, big promo shops. These are like intentional collaborations to support and create awareness around small local businesses, and then using them to reward people in our community who are either doing business with us or referring business to us.
I love that. I love the idea of it being like something tangible like that to be able to drop off and give them, and something local. I mean, there's just so many good points that are like built inside of what you've built with that. Definitely. So I just shared our template. So this is it answers another question, but specifically around referrals. So when somebody on our team gets a referral from one of their past clients, from another agent, we have all of our agents funnel anytime they get a lead or whoever, they put it into this lead referral form. And there's all kinds of information in here. It's like basic information about the client, etc. But near the bottom, it asks who referred this client, if somebody did refer them. So if it is somebody in our database, the agents or whoever it is, myself, are putting that person's name in that area. And then there's some other further questions as to if we should send them a gift for their referral. So we let the agents decide, because I don't know their relationship with some of these people. And if they think that this person has gone above and beyond for them with this referral that they gave them, we'll send them really kind of whatever the agent wants within a certain dollar amount range. So there's a spot in the form for the agent to put an idea of what the gift could be. So recently, Jackie on our team has had a handful of referrals from people from her own lifetime client database. And she just straight up asks people, hey, what kind of like gift card would be really valuable for you right now as a thank you? And lately it's been Quick Trip. So, which seems like a very Wisconsin thing, right? So, I've been a frequent flyer at my local Quick Trip to grab gift cards from there. And now I just actually have a handful of them in the office that I can just grab at any time. So I have all of that information in the lead form. And when I see that come through, then I send a note on behalf of Jackie and our team to that person that referred us business as a thank you with a gift card in it. So, but it's not to everybody. It just really depends on, like, we leave it up to the agent to decide if they want to do that or not. We also, it's the agent's responsibility to ask for a referral because they're the ones they've built a relationship with this person. And I think one of the most important parts about this is that they have language to use that they can buy into to use. So I feel like a lot of times the reason that people don't ask is because they feel uncomfortable and they don't know what to say because they haven't practiced what to say. And if we give them very simple language to be able to use and help them to practice that language, I do believe that you'll see a good turnaround with that, but they need to practice it and they need to have the language to use. So, and maybe some work on their mindset. You know, when I think about it, I think sometimes people get uncomfortable or in their head around asking for a referral. And I think it's more work on their own mind, why that's hard for them. Like, what do they need to overcome in order to understand that you're trying to help somebody else? Like, it's not selfish. Like, you're not tied to the outcome. You have no idea what this person is going to say. All you can control is how you say it and your heart and your intention behind asking. So I think giving them that language though is a really good first step to get them to start asking. And you could build that into your checklist too. Like, they have to ask for a referral and they need to like check off that they did ask or something along those lines. So what were you going to say, Mel?
Yeah, I would suggest though, tearing off the Band-Aid and just asking for the referral, because the mistake I've made when I've reached out to clients is waiting. And then it gets more awkward the longer the time goes on. So I would say just do it right away and then it's done and over with. And you don't have to worry or ponder about it anymore.
Yeah. Yep. The thing is if they never ask, you're never going to have an answer. So it's like, I don't understand this personally. And it could be because I was in sales before. And so I'm not scared of those. I'm not scared of having a conversation like that. But like, you're in sales, you're a salesperson, you're in sales. You need to get comfortable asking this question. So how can we help you to get comfortable asking this question? So, because everybody's answer is going to be different in terms of what they need in order to get comfortable to ask that question. So that's probably a good place to start, would be to ask them some of those questions to like really understand like where to kind of pinpoint how to help them essentially. So even though I know most salespeople want to say like, I'm not a salesperson, but like you are a salesperson. So just own it and ask for more business. You can help more people, more like-minded people. Like that's a good thing. So
Put it to them this way. Do you want to achieve your sales goals this year?
Yep. Yeah. Or it's like, would you rather just their friend work with somebody else instead? And most likely their answer is like, well, no, I don't want that. I'm like, okay, well then go ask. Like, so. And a lot of times people are kind of waiting for you to ask, to be honest, and then when you don't, maybe it's even more weird that you didn't ask. So, I mean, I know we could go off on like a tangent about this, but I just feel like out of all the things that agents are doing, this is arguably one of the easiest ones that I think really does get overlooked because they just assume that people are like, oh yeah, they'll send business this way. They know me, or you know what I mean? So put it into your checklist and find out why they're not asking. There's a reason that they're not asking. So then we just need to find out what that reason is and then help to give them the tools to address whatever that reason is to help them to start asking more. So, well, good. Well, we're right at 1 o'clock, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Thank you all so much for being here. This was so good. It was so good to like see some new faces and have more conversations around operations. So if there's any feedback or if there's topics that you want to talk about in the future, you can always send me an email or a message on social media. I'll keep like a running tab of things that we talk about in a Google form or like a Google Doc so we know what we've discussed. And I'll keep posting on social media the topics every month that we're going to talk about in the beginning. But this was awesome. It was so good to see everybody. So if you need anything, let us know. We're going to work on that group chat of some sort. Some more details to come there. But if there's anything that anybody needs, definitely lean into this group and myself. I'm happy to help. So, and great to see some new faces. I know there's some new people that have recently joined KW that are on this call. Thank you for being here, and look forward to seeing you guys in February then.